As far as F1 rebrands go, Alpine has had an odd start to their Formula One tenure. The French team entered the 2021 season off the back of a successful final season known as Renault. Now, many teams would be damaged by the departure of the driver with the caliber of Daniel Ricciardo, but Alpine is in a rare position where they've actually upgraded their vacant seat. Two-time Formula One champion Fernando Alonso makes his much-anticipated return to the sport to partner young Frenchman Esteban Ocon. The return of one of F1's greats has flown somewhat under the radar, but it's a big storyline heading into this season. Entering as a new brand, Alpine will be looking to build off of the successes of Renault's past and forge ahead as one of F1's top teams. With a driver lineup of youth versus experience, how will Alonso and Ocon get along together, and how will this new partnership work out? This is a very interesting dynamic, so let's take a dive right into the numbers of our teammate tail of the tape at Alpine. If it wasn't hard enough already to try and keep up with someone like Daniel Ricciardo, Esteban Ocon has the immense task of going up against one of the toughest drivers in F1 history. Although he's been out of the sport for 3 years, Alonso is still one of the best drivers in the world, and he's eager to get back on top of F1 after numerous difficult years with McLaren. The good news here for Alpine is that Ocon steadily closed the gap to Ricciardo in 2020 and culminated his improvements with his maiden podium back at the Sakir GP. He'll have to find a whole new level of performance, however, as Alonso has swept away young drivers in the past. There is quite the gap between these two in almost every category, so let's take a look at the tail of the tape numbers. In what is the largest age gap between two teammates this season, Alonso has 15 years on Ocon at the young age of 39 years old. Alonso can take solace in the fact, however, that he's actually not the oldest driver on the grid this year. Kimi Räikkönen beats him to it by 2 years on that record. The biggest aspect of this partnership is the difference in experience level. Ocon has done 244 less races than Alonso, and he's only entering his 4th season of F1, while Fernando is embarking on his 18th season in F1. As mentioned before, Ocon achieved his first career podium last season, while Alonso's last and 97th podium came back at the 2014 Hungarian Grand Prix. I'm sure Alonso will look to add to his 32 Grand Prix victories as well in the near future, but the final 2 stats is what Ocon will be looking out for every weekend. Alonso has outqualified his F1 teammates 76% of the time, while outracing them just below that at 71%. Those statistics have led him to a 14-3 record against superstar teammates of the past, including Jenson Button, Felipe Massa, just to name a few. Ocon, on the other hand, has yet to beat his teammate in 3 full seasons of F1 competition, so he'll have his work cut out for him this year. Even though they haven't hit the track yet, we already have a glimpse into this battle thanks to the young driver test at the end of last year. With 105 laps in the RS20, Alonso posted his fastest time of a 136.333. Let's compare that to Ocon's best qualifying lap in Abu Dhabi, which was a 136.359. Now, of course, different conditions and programs have to be taken into account, but at the end of the day, the stopwatch doesn't lie, and Fernando is faster than you. To see what more Alonso and Ocon bring to Alpine, let's break down their individual driver numbers. It seems like there aren't as many F1 fans out there who are as excited for the return of Fernando Alonso as I am. Love him or hate him, he adds massive value to any team or grid that he joins, so having him back in the sport is a major boost. The team he joins might be called Alpine, but make no mistake about it, Alonso is picking up from right where he left off in his championship Renault days.
You know, there is this atmosphere in Enstone and in this team that everything is so, so simple, so logical. Everything they do in the team that I'm very comfortable here in Renault, and a lot of the people that I work today and half of the mechanics more or less they were already in my days in the team. So when you know the faces, when you know the team, everything becomes a little bit easier.
In many ways, Alonso walks back into Enstone after 11 years and continues his role as team leader and number 1, which must put a lot of pressure on his teammate Ocon. The status is absolutely deserved, however, as the 39-year-old's resume is one of the best in the history of our sport. Alonso is ranked 6th all-time in race victories and also has 22 pole positions to his name. His average start position has been top 8 all of his career, while finishing on average in the top 5. Alonso's also managed to finish in the points in 65% of his career races and has the 3rd most Grand Prix starts in F1 history, a record that he could very well own in the next few seasons. The 3 years that he took off from F1 has recharged his mental and physical batteries, and he's coming back into the sport with 110% commitment to winning again. Since his return was announced, Alonso has been constantly pushing the team to give him more time, whether in old Renault cars or the current one, to try and get back up to speed with the demands of F1 racing. It's been a while since I've seen him this energetic and motivated, and it's no wonder that Renault's former team boss called Fernando a hungry shark. I was quite concerned with the recent unfortunate events surrounding Alonso's cycling accident, but thankfully it looks as though it was minor and he'll be ready for preseason testing. If Alpine can carry the performance over to this season, I really cannot wait to see Alonso mixing it up with the competitive midfield and maybe even some of the big teams. Esteban Ocon's F1 career is very much in its developing years, but he's already been through quite the ride so far. After strong debut seasons with Force India, he was forced to sit out a year and his F1 future at times looked to be up in the air. Luckily, he's been able to move on and find a new home with his native French outfit, Alpine. In Ocon's 67 Grand Prix starts, he's on average qualified in 11th place, while managing to finish in the top 10 on average in races. He's reached Q3 in almost half of his appearances and has a positive finishing record in the points at 57%. His best championship result actually came back in 2018 with Force India when he finished 8th in the standings. He'll have a lot of work to do in this 2021 campaign, but Ocon can try and build off the positive end to his 2020 season. He managed to reduce his qualifying gap to Ricciardo by the end of the year to just 0.3, but if you look at it, that's still a decent gap in F1 terms. The toughest task for Ocon will be to try and not get demoralized by the aura of Fernando Alonso. He'll need to try and get off to a strong start right away and get on top of Alonso early in the season while Fernando is still trying to find his best form. Ocon is still a young, talented driver who can build himself a good future with a team like Alpine, but he's a driver I think that has some of the most pressure on his shoulders this season. It wasn't that long ago that Ocon was being tipped to join Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes, and now he's fallen down the pecking order to younger drivers like George Russell. Now he's got to deal with a former World Championship teammate and possibly other drivers as well who are gunning for his seat. Ocon has shown in the past that he's not afraid to mix it up with his teammates, but somehow I think that might not be the best strategy against a driver like Fernando Alonso. From the onset of their rebrand, Alpine's new era has kind of started off in an odd fashion. Unlike their competitors over at Aston Martin, for example, I think Alpine has missed the opportunity to really build a hype of a new era and a new driver rejoining their team. They had a winter livery launch a few months ago which confused some fans, and then they also had managerial drama with Alpine announcing Cyril Abiteboul's departure. We'll have to wait and see whether Abiteboul's departure has a positive or negative impact on the team, but it sure came as a surprise to the F1 world and the likes of one of their drivers, Esteban Ocon. One less headache Alpine will have to deal with in 2021 is supplying engines to customer teams. Alpine will be the only team powered by the Renault E-Tech hybrid power unit, so all the focus will be on themselves and not the issues of other teams powered by them. As we've talked about in previous videos, the midfield this year will be even more competitive than last year, with each team seeming to be improving in an upwards direction. As for Alonso and Ocon, I have to say I unfortunately don't see this going well for the young Frenchman. I wish him the best and I certainly believe that he's capable, but Alonso's just so tough to go up against, and I don't think that he's lost any quality with his age or his years away from F1. That being said, I'm very excited to see the new Alpine car on track in the hands of these two drivers, and I hope they can contribute to a great midfield battle this season. So that'll do it for the teammate tail of the tape at Alpine for 2021. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of this driver lineup between Alonso and Ocon, And how do you think Alpine will get on this season in the midfield battle? If you like this video series, check the link in the description below to check out the rest of our teammate Tail of the Tape videos, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and consider giving us a subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks for tuning in to our channel. Until next video, we'll see you then.